Good evening, everybody. Welcome back, as ever, to Building Blocks, where we code Minecraft live every day. Well, not every day, and mostly live. There are the VODs. I'm just a font of lies today, apparently. So, there's been some development since last week, so let's first, get into that, because y'all are gonna want to see it, I'm sure. Thank you, Minecraft. How are we all today? By the by, everyone doing okay? Hanging in there? I hope so. Okay, so here I am inside the world. Baby Trans is still very alive, as we can see. Oh, thank you for that, Burrow.
Lion G Scrum.
Yes, it is I, Lion G. Right. If I hold the spell list, there is nothing, for I am but a fraud. I am simply I'm simply a cosplayer wearing this magician's hat and whatnot. But if I use the spell list command, which is brand new, I can add spells, remove my entire list, see what I've got, refresh things and all that. So let's just start by listing no spells. None. Because I am fraud. I am bad at this. I should lose my tenure and all that. If I go to add, I can add any spell whatsoever from that list. This is the server-side list, so consequently, you know all of the spells that are here. Yee. So many notes for an RP to do with your friend? Ooh, well, have fun then. For the purposes of this, let's just add Acid Arrow. And now, since it's the only spell in my list, it is automatically my selected spell. Hooray! So now if we list, I have only, let's see, I can cast Acid Arrow because I haven't cast it yet. And my full list, which is the storage list that we were previously hard-coding but is now softed, is also Acid Arrow. If I add a different spell, let's say Magic Missile, then this remains Acid Arrow, but we now have Acid Arrow and Magic Missile, so I can shift and scroll through it. Nice. Let's just actually cast one of these spells. And what do I need for this? An arrow. Bleh. Okay. So if we just cast that like right there, then the current spell. Yeah, there's a reason for that one. that's related. That's the double cast bug, and I've been having that with a few different things. I still need to figure that part out. But had it not automatically then cast Magic Missile instantaneously, it would have actually, shown that we had Acid Arrow Magic Missile, but only Magic Missile left to use. Yay. I need to write that down as a bug that I still need to fix. I thought I had. I got it working fine, a few days ago, but yeah, it's been a busy couple of days. But basically, that's command /spell _ list that gives us full control of our actual spell lists, and then the spell list item just lets us access them. So everybody has their own individual things, and if I then say to refresh, then I can in fact get all my spells back. Perfect. So, with all of that, we should be, well, aside from the double cast bug, which is something it's not to fix, that is the spell lists sorted. So their rework is donezo for the time being. So hurrah for that. But I will go to, let's see, it'll be item spell container, I imagine. Use finish. Where are you? Player stop using? I don't recall which one it is. There's so many functions in here. Item use finish. There you are. Let's add a to-do here. Or a fix me, actually. Resolve. Multiple spells being cast. From multi-spell sources. There. Okay. Let's see, we have a Hug Carol channel point reward. We don't actually have Carol on stream today. What we actually have over here is Cranston. Cranston is sort of like my pocket pal. If I ever actually have to like go out and like do stuff, then Cranston is usually pretty much condemned to being inside of my saddlebag. Saddlebag? My messenger bag. That's it. And he's just really incredibly fluffy and whatnot and comforting and such. He's only a little bit bigger than Rose. If any of you remember what Rose is like Rose is like pocket size, like palm size essentially. But yeah, so he's getting a little bit of an excursion. So just because we're not going out very much. Yeah, and Carol, of course, is named after my unfortunately passed grandmother, and I still see her very much as such. So consequently, she's getting a day off today as well because she's been very busy. She's been on a lot of streams. Okay, so putting that bug aside for the moment, that's now because I labeled that with fix me, that'll be now listed inside this tasks window. So yeah, there's a few. But our job for today is to continue working on hives because what's on my arm? Yeah, it's a heavy duty. It's for when my wrist gets really hecking bad, essentially. It's a wrist brace. Yeah, we have, I think, mostly just the one major thing to do with the hives, in terms of their rooms, at least. Let's see, changing hive rooms and functions, there's the ritual room, the broodbringer, there's the rift sealing ritual, which we might get today. A little bit of optimization as well, and as such. So we need to go to, is it hive? Nope, hive room? Yeah, there you are. Okay, so we have hatchery, we have storage, we have the ritual, and we also have gardens, which we'll start off with just to get us refreshed back up. Welcome, AI Bot 2020, how are you?
A new challenger approaches.
Let's see, what do we want to have the gardens look like? The other thing is we just surround them with, like, mycelium and such, or grass, and we just put flowers on top. Which makes them fairly straightforwards. Not 100%. The alternative is we also just, like, replace creep around there with, mushrooms and such. We can even make it glowing mushrooms, actually, because we already have glowing mushrooms in there. Okay, so Anonymous Gifter gave AI Bot 2020 a tier 1 sub. Well, thank you very much for that. Hey, Misty. Okay, so if we look up, where's a good place to be? Here we are, nests. Decent thing. So the hatchery replaces portions of its hive, depending upon the actual like creep state and such, with nests, and those nests are where ultimately eggs will be, and therefore how the hatchery will function. We basically need to replicate that for the garden, so let's just pretty much clone this. Bring that up there. Down to there. Okay. And tab it a little bit just so it's a little more aligned. There you go. Very nice. Okay. So let's replace nest with something a bit more useful. Let's say cauldron for right now. Have I made games on the Source engine? I have not, actually. Surprisingly, it wasn't even, like, the least bit touched upon inside of my, education. Nope. Oh, 100 witch heads.
Lion G Witch.
Okay. So find all of the nest blocks. This is a relatively robust system. I should probably just encapsulate that in its own class, because a lot of this is going to be the same thing, isn't it? I have Source Engine 2006 and 2007. Oh boy, it's aged a fair bit then. So what happens is the room checks to see how many of the target block they have inside of themselves, and if it is, like, if there are possible positions to put the stuff, but we have too few, then it requests a nearby changeling to come and play a visit, and when there is a nearby visiting, then it actually functions. So, should be straightforwards. And there's Dismantle, which just resets it to Hive Creep, which is mostly used for debugging right now, but, Can I look? Okie doke. Have fun lurking then. Okay. So here we have the actual function related to determining the arrangement, essentially. In the case of the storage, it checks for is there a wall edge to the actual, like, piece of creep that we're examining. And that means that the actual storage parts end up aligned against the wall edges and such. Whereas with the hatchery, it looks for nesting positions that have no further nesting positions in a 3x3 around them, which means that they end up a lot more scattered, relatively, can end up rigid depending on how randomly it puts them through, because it does select which points to go to randomly. And then that means that you can always walk through a hatchery even if it's full of eggs. Makes it's simple but smart, suffice to say. In our case, we probably want to say, let's see, for the time being, we'll keep how this runs. So now, if I may build Great Left 4 Dead campaigns, yeah, I've heard of that. I don't touch it personally, but I've heard of it. Let's see. Now I need to remember which piece of code it is for this. Talentity, Hive, there you are. Talentity, Rift, Changeling, there you are. So we have garden, we have hatchery, ritual, storage. We should be able... storage, ritual, yeah, there you go. If we just add it in here, enum hive room dots garden. Flip. The way this is built is that things can be extremely variable. They're using the same enums, but they can all have different behaviors, which means they end up looking different and all sorts. We also, with the changeling hives, we're actually generating a big freaking structure that manages everything. But with settlements, it's not quite that. We'll just say, hey, here's a room. Don't forget to hydrate. Yep. Well aware. All of these emotes have bubble teas inside the chat right now, so yeah, it'd be hard for me to forget. Okay, so now that we've added gardens there, we can pretty much just boot up right now and see, most probably, a lot of these just turn up. There's a little bit here I think I need to fix up though. So that is looking for valid for nest. That is already a nest, so let's check our nest.get block. That'll just be a little bit more clear. Okay, let's see what that does. And let's also close this second instance of Minecraft that I apparently accidentally opened. Whoops. Added you on my Steam. What's your username? I tend to be fairly careful about who I add on Steam, sorry. I do a lot of work involving Steam, so kind of just everybody messaging me whilst I'm trying to film and do stuff. Okay. Let's see. Hive 2 should do the trick. Okay, so here we have a pre-existing hive. It is currently building up its hatchery over here, and there's one of the storages. And if we see any cauldrons start to pop up, we'll know we've done something right. But if we also have a meander outside, which we almost can't because this hatchery's in the way, Blump. We can see colors up here. Every time it boots, it should show us the colors corresponding directly to what kind of room that is. So red for a hatchery, green for a storage, brown I think might be empty rooms. Be gone, demon. Let's have a look.
Oldie but a goodie, what do you call cheese that isn't yours? Nacho cheese.
Oldie but a goodie, and apparently a little tricky for the text-to-speech. But thank you for that. Now remind me which one of these is removal. That's setting, okay. Blump. That lag spike, by the way, is just because I run a really big fill command up there. And then everything else starts doing stuff as well. So that just clears things out. What it actually does is deletes the rift and sets the time rate to be really, really fast. Because the hive creep will gradually decay more naturally. And that is real-time speed through there. Just no acceleration needed there, that's just rapids. Flower crown, yep, yeah, it works so perfectly. Okay. So these guys are all in here, just sort of admiring the rift, which is the crafting bench. It doesn't have a custom model yet, but it's on the list. And we got a hatchery, because the room containing the rift is always a hatchery. And the first room that gets added is always the one that contains the rift as well, the largest one containing the rift. So we got hatchery here, we got storage there, a little bit more hatchery, more hatchery. I might have neglected a piece of code. Suppose we'll find out. Ah, here we go. We got a garden. Hooray! Because there's cauldrons in here. Beautiful. Good start. Okay. So now we need to replace cauldrons with whatever we are using to actually have, in order to actually have, like, plants of some kind. Now, what do we want the changelings to be interested in gardening? Do we just want regular flowers, or do we want, like, mushrooms? Do we want flowers and mushrooms? Do we want actual crops? What do we want? What do we think? Let me know in chat. And I wonder if I could do a command that just sets what a room is. Hey Dark, how you doing? So yeah, what's actually happening here, to be a little bit more explanatory here, is you'll see changelings wander over to specific areas and then things will appear there, so which gives the impression that they're the ones actually placing all this stuff. In reality, what they're doing is just responding to a request for supervision by the rooms. The rooms themselves are actually being updated, and when they update, they are asking for changelings to come and visit so that they can perform their function. So a changeling essentially is just a supervisor. And the rooms are the ones that are actually putting down all the blocks and doing all that stuff. I could have the changelings go into them and put down all the blocks and whatnot, but it's a lot more code, because the changeling have to identify the rooms, they have to figure out if they can path to a given room, they need to determine if that room needs to do anything, and it's a lot to just pack into their actual code. It's much easier to just have the rooms be the ones that are asking it and doing all this data and such. Because it means I don't have to deal with quite as much going on with changelings, especially because the AI in Minecraft is predicated on essentially an RNG, a random number generator. So it just always is going to be randomly determining whether or not what gets done, so a changeling might choose to, like, I don't know, go and, like, attempt a ritual when the ritual room still needs building. That kind of thing. Can I join and see what you're working on? This is not a server, so no. Also, this is code. I don't know how I could possibly send you all of the code just to, like, check this out. Like, this is like, yeah, you've basically just asked me if I can send you a mod pack that hasn't been released yet. Or even completed, for that matter. But, that said, you can check out the mod. It's on Curse. There is a link to it, if I just type that in the chat. So we're working on a 5.3, we're working down a very small, actually, to-do list left for the 5.3 release, which will be coming out in the near future. Or as soon as I can finish it all. If you notice everything's, like, vanishing, it's because the rooms are being dismantled. The hive is set to automatically, like, refresh itself every few minutes or so. That's mostly for debug purposes, just to see how things handle up. Just to see if it actually stays consistent and all sorts. But okay. So, we've got our cauldrons appearing, so let's start building some of our functions here. We've established that our rooms are actually functioning, and yep, here's the actual, like, sequence of stuff happening. So what's happening here is
I am the one who arranges the blocks that descend upon me from up above.
Why? Why? That'll just be stuck in our heads for, like, the next 12 years. But yeah, here is the essentially 4-step process to creating a hive. So stage 0, stage 0 is room function. Stage 3, spreading hive. Stage 2, calculating the total volume from all of them. And then we identify the rooms, and then we have the rooms actually do stuff. Now, the big hard part is the identifying rooms. As we know, we tried heat mapping for quite a while, and actually, deciding how to do the hive spread was also a thing, but oh boy. You are evil, yeesh. Okay, gonna replace that with grass for the moment. Mushroom seem more familiar, possibly the glowing mod ones? Yeah. So, if the nest positions are like casual function, which is the stuff that does just ordinarily, rather than the other things, then we should be able to get this to do other stuff. Now, I know I've got other stuff happening. Let's see. Go to... Because function and function casual are different things. And I need to remember, because it's been a while since I've touched this code, exactly how they differ. Where does function casual get called? Okay, function casual gets called from the Rift. Function... Does that get called externally at all? Yeah, changeling operate room. So what happens is the changing goes over, and then it tells it to actually do the function. So function casual is responsible for actually issuing commands to, hey, could you come check me out, that kind of thing. Okay. I should note that in the actual hive room behavior thing, so that I know what that does. Typing is a little weird here. Yeah. To be fair, you only have yourself to blame. You'd never heard about that song before if it wasn't me. Eh, well. Changing operator room. There we go. There. Okay. Other hive rooms you could theoretically make wouldn't necessarily need to call for somebody and then have them come over, so a room that's full of machinery, for instance, but it's what we got going for us right now. Okay. Now that I have that noted so that I know exactly what's going on. So, our garden has a list of rooms. Okay. Now, well, now we need to retrieve all of the actual nest positions and ensure that we can actually, like, use them. The hatchery works out pretty good for us there, because the hatchery also looks for clear space directly above the position, so very handy for us. So, let's say else. That should be, yep, that's a list of block positions, good. Call that pots, I guess. And that also means we don't need to call it down here. So now we need to go through the pots and see if there are any that don't have an associated crop directly above them. So boolean, missing crop. So 4 luck position plus in pots. It is really hard to type in a wrist brace, everybody. Take care of your wrists. You guys had this exact conversation before? Sounds like it, doesn't it? Okay, so we need to check if it is air directly above one of these pots, in which case we identify it as being not presently fixed up. So to that end, let's see, if world in dot is air block position dot up, then missing crop equals true, and we'll just break out that loop right there. So then, if missing crop we could probably do just an actual thing that says, is there anybody here? If not, request a visit. But me. Okay. So now, if we have crops, or if we have pots, but there's no crops in those pots, we should still also request a changeling visitor. Good. Next up, the actual function that determines that. Now we actually have a dual function here, so we need to actually have the room differentiate as to which one it's on. So let's get ourselves an integer, so get room state from the room and the world. And essentially what we're going to be doing here is just using that code right there. So if we are missing a crop, return, let's see, setup, placing, let's say 2. Yeah, that should about do it. So if there's no missing crops, don't need to do anything. If there's missing pots, then we go to 1. Okay, 0, 1, and 2. Grand. Okay. So switch. Get room state. No. Know how difficult it is trying to do anything with no risk praise? Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm probably doing some damage to my wrist by sheer virtue of the fact that I'm using a brace right now. Okay, so now we have a differential for whatever is going on, and then we can actually distinguish what happens in each distinct point. Yay! So let's also we can determine if we're going to request a visit here. So switch get room state room and world in, similar deal. So case 1, we're going to need to return pretty much that. Case 2, we just want to ask if there's anybody, we just want to ask for a visit. Case 0, we don't need to worry about anything, because we're all good. Okay. Actually, cases 1 and 2 pretty much just need to do the same thing, don't they? In which case, we can just do that. So case 0 is just, don't need to worry about it. We millennials didn't take care of our wrists growing up. I mean, the weird thing was, I was definitely taught about it in class. That was definitely a thing that happened. It just happened to be that it was mentioned like once a year. That was it. I missed a dab. All good? I can't believe that. I still can't believe that's actually a default. But okay. So, now we've got that. Let's go to that. And let's also add a default of just doing nothing, just ticking over. We're fine. We got nothing to worry about. Later things probably will require actual activity in those states. So for instance, if they're farming, then those crops need to actually like request a visitor so that we can then harvest them, that kind of thing. But for us right now. We're fine. Didn't have to put it in. It was automatically there. But okay, right. So now we need to get our list of pots, which we already have pretty much just down here. Gonna be needing that. So for, let's see, let's just get a random pot. So block position random pot equals pots.get rand next int pots.size. And if let's see, world in dot is air block random pot dot up, then world in dot set block state random pot dot up to, let's see, vo blocks dot fungus. Did I call it glow fungus? I can't recall if it was a mushroom or not. Glow shroom, there you are. I was like, why can't I find it for that? Default states, go. Okay. So now it will randomly select them and fill them up. Let's see how that goes. You're supposed to look after them? Yes. You're supposed to look after your wrists quite significantly. No one ever mentioned looking after your wrists to me when you were in school/college. I can't remember. On Cam, aren't you older than me? I guess it also depends on what school you had. Because human bodies are terrible, and we're designed, and we're well, to call them designed would be quite an exaggeration. Nature just threw a bunch of Legos at each other for long enough that eventually they formed something resembling a structure. So we're not great. We require considerable maintenance. You can just see them turning to mulch over there. That's extremely accelerated rates, of course. Human body bad, want better limbs. Yeah. And a bit more visual diversity would be nice, you know. No, this or that kind of idea. Okay. So we know that back left was a garden in the preceding moment. It is currently, they're not doing anything right now because the system has to go through things in groups, in like big chunks, rather than doing it all at once, because if it does it all at once, it will pretty much crash the game. Okay, good. They're all yellow. We expect that because we've only just told it the default state, but hey, that's a good start. That is a good start. So, what is the next thing that we want to do? Ideally, we want it to actually be placing these next to one another, but not in a fashion that prevents us from moving through. Now, to do that, we need to manipulate exactly what constitutes a actual, like, valid position for a pot. So how do we want to arrange them? Because the arrangements for storages and hatcheries over here is pretty simple. Like here it's just, is there a 3x3 of space around that? And here is a, like, does it just have like an edge, like here? Theoretically other things would actually also count, but because they don't have a bottom, they don't either. Also, space is gorgeous and I love it. Oof. Alright, yes. Spot of irony there. And the world refreshed. So yeah, the rooms that get built up fastest are the ones that actually have changings in them. Makes things seem a little bit more organized than they actually strictly are. And are we gonna pick those same positions again? Probably not. Guessing we can't steal eggs? No. Partially because another feature that I have to build in is the Broodbringer, which is basically a xenomorph queen, whose sole function is to guard hatcheries. not have a garden this time around? Looks like all the rooms are filled out. There's 2 purples. Oh no. Apparently no. Yeah, the seed changes like every time I reboot, so consequently, well, the seed slightly adjusts, I suppose I should say. So consequently, things aren't quite necessarily the same over and over. It's just a matter of what things have their conditions set more by the actual conditions rather than the seed. The seed, of course, controls the RNG that the world has, so consequently, that changes things up. But for instance, this room here is always going to be a hatchery because it is the largest section, and it is therefore is the first added because it has the hatchery, it has the rift, and the rift room is always a hatchery. So this section is always hatchery. Always. Oh, does it? It does if you're playing in single player. Dusty. I don't know 100% if it's because I'm in a dev environment, but that's what it does. So yeah, purple rooms up there would indicate gardens, but we apparently don't have any. I think brown is rituals. Okay, there we go. Purple at the back. Aha! Yep, already got its positions. So now it's got 1, but it doesn't have a mushroom on. So the next thing would be, is it going to come back later? We can also theoretically vary it up, so like maybe some of them are farmland, some of them are like soul sand, that kind of thing. We just put like Netherrack or Neverwort on top of the soul sand and such. Because I feel like potions are a thing these guys would be interested in. But anyways, let's just go up here, take out rituals for the moment. Just reduce the number of potential rooms so that we actually have ones that we're more interested in. And let's actually give these a random state rather than just specifically yellow. So let me see, what is the color variance of this? Where are you? So you have enum dye color with property. Okay, that's relatively straightforward to random then. So with property block colored dot color enum dye color dot values, or actually from meta probably do the trick, wouldn't it? Or by dye, is that it? Yeah, by meta. And then rand next int enum dye color dot values dot length. So however many colors you somehow happen to have, we'll now get those. Okay. Later on we can have other prerequisites for different rooms, so we can say gardens must have some access to the sky, or must have some grass, or must be a certain scale, and then like that allows us to attempt to have even more control over how things work out and look, and that'll also change up how the values look so that they're actually like, this room is actually big enough to be a useful storage room, that kind of thing. This room is actually large enough to have literally more than one nest, that kind of thing. But for right now, that is not what we have going, because we haven't put that really in yet. That's a thing that's coming, but it's not right now. Okay. So now we have different colors, and we should see gardens come up a little bit more often. Dusty is sleepy? No. Have you considered sleeping, Dusty? Yeah.
For all the yip who don't get pets.
I think your microphone went a bit weird there. What? I forget, did we name the text-to-speech? Linda? Karen? I don't know. Yeah, Cranston does get pets, but only when I go out, which obviously isn't very frequently right now. So, we're having him along for the ride today. Karen? We named it Karen? Yeah. Apologies to any Karens. Okay, just gonna wait for that to recombobulate itself. How are Polly and Pod doing? Ah, they're doing okay. There's been a fair bit of sunlight lately, so they're doing very nicely. Vinny has been very happy. Although Vinny has also been swarmed around by the various foxes that we have today. So. Pixel now the Scrammy to not get pets. True. I mean, Pixel gets, like, the occasional bit of food tossed their way. By the by, folks, if you hadn't noticed already, we have a new emote, which is, the Sneaky Witch. So, if you hadn't noticed that already from, I think there being at least one of them just currently hanging out in the tip jar. And I should reset this, because it is going all over the place. This essentially is my lag monitor. If that freezes or whatnot, then I know something's wrong. Okay, that's a lot more garden to work with. Let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. That's still not very big areas, but we're working on it. So we've got grey, we got cyan, we got a bit of blue there. We got purple and black. Very nice. Witch got flattened. Squish that witch. I don't think Hive Creep can replace glowing blocks like that, but hard to say. So that gives us glowing mushrooms, which is a good first crop, I think, to say. Completely, actually, materially worthless, I think, but also I need to fix that. And, ooh, we got a much bigger one. That's a much bigger garden now. Okay, let's see how this goes. Insert Wizard of Oz joke. Ever go to Google something important and completely forget it was? Oh yeah, I've had that happen to me when I look up something on like Wikipedia for a while. Yeah.
Feed the yips, both pixel and physical.
Oh, thank you very much, Cam. Well, I will also point out it is basically payday for me today, so you already have. I think you need to change the redeem to hug plushies. True, but it is usually Carol. Well, there's a very nice and big garden. Oh, we got a bunch of gardens, it seems. No, that one didn't survive long enough to actually get fixed up. Okay, well, let's fix up the dismantling section there. So that does actually get rid of the crops, and then we can see about making sure that we get rid of everything else. So we also want world in.set to air. I'll start up. What is Witch doing? That I don't know. I'm thinking of a number. The hand thing from Witchery? Yeah, that's how they mark a location to teleport back to. But okay. Right, so that should get rid of the actual, like, mushrooms and such. So the next thing is, presuming that we have that, and bearing in mind it should only select blocks above. So I don't quite know. Let's see, valid nest positions, valid for nest. There's that. We also want the block above it to be empty, which apparently we weren't doing. If it is an air block, point up, or it's hive creep. Ah, that's why. Okay, yeah, we wanted to do that then to ensure. Which also really means it's going to stay away from the walls. It's okay. Think of a number, if you can guess it right, you get to live. 20.97. The number of pounds in my checking account. There's an old reference. But anyways, I digress. Okay. So, if it is hive creep, and the block above it is air, we check through to find one, and to make sure it's actually like that. And then if it is the nest, then we fail the check. Otherwise, true. Right, that should mean that we only get nest blocks that actually have air directly above them to put stuff on. Really need to tell Witch that that's not how you do sunglasses. I mean, it's a nice place to keep them, you know, for storage. Anyways, let's actually have multiple crops. So, we want flowers, we want the glowing mushrooms, all that lovely stuff. So, switch, rand next int 3, and we'll call this case 0. Let's also get our block position, so plant pos, I guess. Just makes things a little easier. And let's also just get ourselves a color. Just so that we don't have to run that whole thing. Okay. So case 0, we'll have it be glowshroom. Case 1, we'll actually have it be plants. Double plant? No. We want small plant. Which I think might be flower. Chorus flower, flower pots, red flower, or yellow flower. Are there way more than that, though? What am I thinking of here? Or are those literally just double flowers? Well, let's check flower pot out for a second here. My sticks? Oh yes, back in 10 minutes, everybody, when we figure out the mystery of flowers. Alright folks, so block flower is kind of a mess because Minecraft started out with 2 flowers, red and yellow, and then later on they expanded it to be like 16, but they'd already defined red and yellow as being 2 separate blocks. So I don't know how well this code is going to work, because they didn't want to change it because it would just...
Oops, lying snoot.
Me snoots has been booped. So yeah, they didn't want to change it to be like one expansive thing and not just 2 separate values because it would have broken basically every world in the game. But also they haven't really cared that much about breaking world generation, so I don't see why it was a problem. But anyways, I digress. So hopefully we should actually have an addition now for brand new actual like flowers, a whole bunch of flowers, and I'm gonna add in a little thing here as well, just to really quickly set it to be just a red mushroom or something. But just, I don't have to go through that quite so much. Let's see, red mushroom, default state. There you go. Okay, let's see how this goes. Mushrooms might just break off due to the light levels. Hives are fairly dim, but, Line beeped. A little bit. Yep, so we have the new witch emote, and thanks to all of the subs that we've gotten recently, we actually have room for all of the planned emotes that I had on the same sub tier. So tier 1 will now have all of the different all of the different emotes as opposed to them being like one on the tier 2 and one on the tier 3. So we have one more coming. I don't have an estimate on that just yet. I don't imagine it'll take too long. Who knows? Okay, we already have a red mushroom over here. Good, that's a good start. We need to see some flowers, though. And I don't think we have enough room to see if the flowers turn up. It'd be interesting to set up an actual, like, flower. Oh no, there is a huge, huge bunch of space. Okay, it just needs to be assembled. Now what I could do is establish some kind of priority system so that rooms that are trying to run for building purposes have higher priority than rooms that are trying to run for function purposes, so that the changelings will prioritize going to those different ones first. But I don't know yet. Okay, there we go. How did you place there if above you is not an air block? Interesting, that might be a leftover. A holdover, as it were. Yep, it is, because otherwise... otherwise we wouldn't... like, it would have gone away, essentially. Okay, we got our big garden again. And we got one over there. Let's see, I see a couple of mushrooms. Well, technically those are all mushrooms, but still. Grass color in here is not great. Do the hive creatures attack the creepers? I mean, these ones don't. But that's because these ones are fairly intentionally designed to be passive. Because if they were obviously aggressive to different things, then it would identify them as different kinds of mobs. That doesn't look quite passable, but it is. Side effect of how these work, I guess. Okay, we got a mushroom. Come on, we need to see flowers here. We are looking for flowers. Didn't find any flowers there. We also didn't find any, like, mushrooms for that point, but, Yeah, you can see them moving into the different rooms and stuff getting set up and whatnot. Which is exactly what it should be. So if you theoretically were able to contain all of the changelings in a certain room of the hive or whatever, then it would be the only hive. It would be the only room that actually functioned at all. But yeah, so far we haven't seen any flowers. Which is disconcerting, to say the least. The cutest yip hiccup? What? When did I hiccup? I don't remember this. Yeah, I don't think we've gotten any with flowers. I don't think that's actually working yet. Oh, for Midnight Stalker? That is a while ago then. No wonder I don't remember. We've had plenty of mushrooms. We have, well, pretty much exclusively mushrooms, in fact. We haven't had any flowers. I'll give them a moment to actually get it working. At least the gardens only put down flowers once they actually have a full complement, as it were, of positions. And yep, that's valid because there's empty space directly above. Could also theoretically have them deliberately clear creep from above it. That would be maybe a bit pursuant. Alternatively, I could just create a special block for a garden, but Okay, so that's not working. Why is that not working? Because it's doing that, seemingly. Oh, state by ID. Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. State from meta. Cannot make a static reference. Right. Blocks.flower? That should be the right one. Block flower? Yes. Okay. That should hopefully work then. And the other thing, I guess we do want to have a clear section, just in case there's one that's been blocked or something. So hopefully now it should work. Getting state by ID, not as intended. Actually, I'm kind of surprised I didn't cause some kind of error. So probably a lot of those were trying to actually be flowers, but they just couldn't actually get a flower to place. Okay, so system has rebooted because I forgot rooms generating up there, garden set up there and here. Should be a 1 in 3 chance that it ends up being a flower. Like, we will definitely know when that happens. If this room has a function, it is not being pursued. But no function is also an available possible option for a room. The default, in fact. Let's have a look. Okay, that big stretch is actually a garden. That won't be there. that's just for debugging. And I might even change that to just be something that ops and such see when they walk through a hive. Why did the gardens disappear? Same reason everything else disappears. When the currently for terms of like just debugging, the hives will dismantle all of their rooms when they recalculate themselves. So that's why they go away. Same reason the nests go away and such. It's not going to be something that happens later, but happens right now. Okay, mushroom there. Just clean that up. So once these gardens have fully rebuilt themselves, we should hopefully see some actual flowers turning up. And we definitely do want to sort out the cleaning. And we might also want to adjust the actual population density. Mischief Warlock finishes Witch Pact in rival space. Definitely a thing you can do. Can't say that's not a possibility. And there's also a decent, like, it's not written in your pact screen what, if any, endgame is actually, like, attached to your particular pact, so you could do it accidentally. If you do any stage of your pact in somebody else's base, and it has the changeling end game, then every place you like completed your pact is going to do that. So that includes somebody's base. Is this a nothing happening? Oh. Blip. Got to turn around. No, that big long section is apparently still a garden. You guys must have just been a bit busy elsewhere, I guess. Yeah, we're still not seeing any... We're seeing mushrooms, so now getting value 2. We're seeing other mushrooms, vanilla mushrooms, so now we're getting value 0 as well. Think about that backwards, but still. So we should be seeing 1s. Which means we should be seeing flowers. Why aren't we seeing flowers? That's the question. Could see pre-sealing witch opening a rift in Kieran's base? Absolutely. I could see post-sealing witch do it. Absolutely. So we're looking for flowers, if you're just joining us here. What we've got currently are glowing mushrooms and vanilla red mushrooms exclusively, and we are trying to see things like alliums and whatnot showing up as well. So far, we haven't. Also, a bunch of sysats in Thailand Griff Changeling, which I can probably do without at this point. No? Okay. Oh, we're in Rift Interior set phase. Just shut that up for the moment. It's possible to harvest the glowing mushrooms. Absolutely. So you could theoretically use the hive as a farm for these plants if you liked. But obviously that's one, like, side thing that they're doing compared to everything else that they're doing. Like, growing this rift. Okay. So... one thing I do want to do, we've got that general function, so let's also go through the pots and see if the block above them is not empty, and if it's creep, then... So if world in... Actually, is... I'm trying to think, is creep? Yeah. Or get the block state type creep. We should have a function for that. Yeah, there we are. So, that will mean that they actually tidy it away. Help, my base is overrun with weird moss and creep unicorn monsters with wings. Where did they come from? I have no packs with them. Oh, well, there may have been some changes. When I pick up eggs and deposit them somewhere else to spread the hive further. I mean, to do that, you just give the changelings enough resources. That's what we have planned. We'll be doing that a bit later tonight, in fact. Once we figure out why we can't get a dang flower. See. Seems to go as high as 8. And it's mostly red. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it should be about 9 values. So let's just hard code that to 9. And case 3. Blocks dot yellow flower default state. Ew. These guys seem to say something. Parent, can we please have an upgrade? Oh. What are you looking for? Don't know how well this comes across on camera, but Cranston is very fluffy. Okay, let's, for the moment at the very least, let's tell it to just set it to... Wait a second, I see I'm an idiot, that's why. Okay, you know how we can see that there's a breakpoint on all of these? That prevents these different cases from crashing into one another and performing, whether or not they were selected directly. So every time it was selecting for there to be a flower, it was also doing the mushroom part. This is why we test. Basically, every time it wanted to put a flower, it just put a mushroom instead. And I should do that, because otherwise we're not going to get any yellow flowers. Maybe that can be a thing for, like, April. I can just, like, cosmetically render a flower crown on the changelings. That could be entertaining. Like, I already have it for June. All of the kobolds have gay pride flags, so... Like, maybe several of the oddities have different, like, seasonal appearances. Yeah, I definitely need to add something that tells admins at least what room they're in. And there we go! It worked! We have a brand new tulip over here. Hooray! Oh boy. And we have a pot here that is covered over by creep. We should see that replaced if we come back. And we still have red mushrooms. Good. Good. Oh, and there's a white one over there too. Eee. Tiptoe through the tulips. Goblins in swimsuits for July. No one wants to see that. Changelings have no idea that flowers aren't just mushrooms. Confirmed. I mean, consider where they live. It's an invasive creep that, like, it's essentially a mold that just coats everywhere. The only reason it, like, looks like a forest is purely because, well, it was intended to look like a forest. Your enemy at the moment, Cam? No? What are you up to with flowers that's making them your enemy? Are you playing Britannia? Is that it? Hopefully you guys can get this garden finished and set up with flowers before the next reset. But yeah, the dismantling, like, every time it does that is... well, firstly, it's not meant to be nearly so severe. It's meant to be getting rid of, like, special objects. And then, so that they can then decay away in some cases. But in this case, having actual grass, not that huge of a problem. Okay, we had a bunch of red mushrooms there. We did not get everything else. Oh, hay fever. Ah, fair point. Yeah, that definitely would have that effect, wouldn't it? Okay, I'm gonna go and tell it to not reboot, and then hopefully we should be able to actually see it a bit better. This is also set up for various different kinds of rifts, not just changeling rifts, for hives of various creatures down the road. And also actual structures. So part of the update. There's flag for room check, form handler, yep, set phase, okay. So, every 50 seconds, it does that. But we're just gonna get rid of that for the time being, turn that off, see what it does. There's a crow outside crowing its head off and you feel like you're playing The Long Dark. I haven't played that, but it does sound interesting. Actually, I think I got gifted something along those lines. What am I thinking of? I know there was like a horror game that I got gifted recently, but I can't remember what it is. Fun but stressful? Yeah. God, whatever game it was is gonna bug me, because my brain is thinking it was like something akin to The Darkest Dungeon. Which I also haven't played. Let me have a quick poke for my library and see what it was. Darkwood, that was it. Darkwood and Generation Zero I got recently. Okay, let's pop into Spectator. Yes, this middle one is very, very big. Huh, that's interesting. Did the volume check and identified that these places, with the grass and so with the grass blocks were not available. But because they're fully surrounded by creep, it doesn't matter too much. Okay. We have positioned a camera inside of this hive, and now we're going to document the behavior of the changelings as we go. That could be an entertaining idea, actually. Just film the changelings in their hives as though we were like some kind of nature documentary. Here we see changelings in their natural habitats. Ish. They are an invasive species, so I don't know if this can, strictly speaking, be described as their natural habitat, but it's only their hive. Now, it's crucial to note that they can only turn creep into the specialized structures of the different rooms. They don't just place blocks wholesale. Changeling's natural habitat is the void. Changeling's natural habitat is the Feywilds. It's like the plane of fairies. Did I lock the door? No, but they did. I'm just like coming over here to flip that lever so that they couldn't wander out, but they've blocked it with a garden anyways. This feels like it's not actually a garden, or at least this, like the hive doesn't recognize it as a garden. Changeling moved to the overworld for winter. Can't wait for when the documentary gets the witch then visiting. Yes, because that is another thing I need to add in. That might not be for 5.3, but that will be shortly after. Which is that occasionally the witch patron will appear inside of the changeling hives near the rift. Are they the one who would pay to see that documentary? I mean, strictly speaking, Perry, you do. As a long-time patron, you do in fact functionally pay for that content from me. Yeah, I don't think this is actually classified as a garden, else we would have seen parts of it functioning already. Fortunately, I have ways around that. Okay. Not that long of a patron? You've been here a while, though. Not the longest, sure, but you've been here a while. Okay, so first thing is the hatchery right there. Yep. There's a garden right there. Where do we have the gardens this time around? Okay. Not huge places, not huge. But should be big enough for us to see different flowers turning up, hopefully. Yep, got a red flower right there, just a regular old rose. Literally old rose. One of the first flowers added to the entire game, in fact. And hopefully we should have enough room here to see one of these get covered over by creep and then cleaned off. But if it's already planting mushrooms, then probably not there, at least. There's a fort, actually. If this is a garden, then we could have the changelings gather flowers from the gardens and then use those put those into storage and then use those for the ritual. Aha! I've just thought of something emergent. Technically a poppy? Yeah. Because they changed it. There you go. Dandelion. Maybe that's why the changelings keep gardens. Following since June 30th, 2017. I can actually check Patreon for how long you've been a patron. Come to think of it. You've been my patron for 28 months, Burra. So, over 2 years. You've been around a bit. Yeah, something I keep thinking, like, this is obviously a very open kind of environment, and I would prefer there to be more of a delineation between rooms. Maybe that ends up being by having there actually be an empty room between all functional rooms, like a hive room none. But in structures like this, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to actually be a lot of rooms in general. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, though. But yeah, if we have a storage, a hatchery, a garden, and a ritual room, that's theoretically the entire allotment that a hive needs, strictly speaking. And it will always have at least one of them, because otherwise, where's the rift? But okay, I think we can say with certainty this is working. Is this one in the middle dead? Yeah. Well, dead. Non-functional, I should say. Another option, of course, is also that we can have the rooms shrink so that they're not in contact with other rooms. Don't know how well that will work. But yeah, something I also need to build in is suitability, so that we can actually identify that a room capable of holding one pot is not suitable for a garden. Definitely not even a hatchery. Maybe a storage room, but I think 3x3 is actually like the smallest it can be. Do we still have the... yeah. Up there we have the actual, that room that doesn't exist. That's an error. I still don't know 100% where that keeps coming from, but it's still there. So who knows. But okay, right. Next job, the ritual room. Let's turn back on. This rechecking is meant to be, if you like start to like clear whole ton of creep away, that kind of thing. That checking is meant to be like, okay, well, we need to recalculate how we can use the space that we still have available to us, so that you don't, for instance, get rid of the ritual room and then, well, that hive never is going to grow because you don't have a ritual room in it. Wish I can do a lot sooner. Oh. Okay, I think we're done for gardens for the moment. So, now for the ritual room. Let's just actually, like, space containing locations for the growth of flowers. Yeah, we could actually have that be state free. If there's nowhere for us to put a flower, then we tell it, or we ask a changeling to come by and like actually grab one, and then that goes into storage because that's what the changelings do when they have items in their inventory. That's an idea. Okay, so there's a big description to this. Space illuminated by orbiting motes of light, floor littered with eldritch symbols. Occasional shadowy figures pass through the area. Changelings will occasionally retrieve items from storage rooms and group together in ritual rooms. After a short procedure, the items are destroyed and the changelings involved receive a temporary regen buff. Each time a ritual is completed, there is a small chance of increasing the size of the rift. This is much more complicated, so you might see why I've been putting this off. Because for this, we need a lot more stuff to happen. Now I think it's more or less. Okay, well let's break it down. Let's get our state going here. Much as we did with the actual garden, let's get a state calculator going. So, state 0, construction, obvious one, and then state 1, resource gathering. And then state 2, presumably, is the ritual. So we need... Do we necessarily need to know where, like, how many of these ritual blocks we have? Well, for right now, we can just say the ritual block. Actually, I just need to rename that, because it's not reflective of what that is yet. Let's call that pot. Another name will share. Oh, right, yes. Did I name? Oh, right, yes, that's the same thing used in storage. Storage calls them pots as well. Call it flower, I guess. Or farm. Yeah. Right, yeah. So because I'd named it there, then yeah. Shouldn't do that, but it does. It shouldn't be like that, but it be. But yeah, let's call that farm. Okay. So, for construction, we're going to need a block. For right now, we can just say that the block is glowing creep. So call it sigil, or symbol. Sigil's shorter, we'll go with that for the time being. So that would be glowing. Nope, creep. Hive creep light. There you are. So similar stuff here. With function casual, we determine what state we're in and if we need some assistance. And I think pretty much all of them are that state. Pretty much all of them I think need actually to have somebody in them. So, for our room state, the first thing we need is right, there you are. so if this number of sigils is lower than the volume, the horizontal volume, mind you, we actually want that to be... I'm trying to think. We want it to be the outer edges, essentially, so we want... Oof. Trying to think how do you determine the outer circumference of a cube. Having to change maybe from brand just so it doesn't overwhelm one finger task isn't an easy task. Yeah. So it's 2 of that, which is just the floor, plus size X times size Y. 2 of those as well. Yeah. And then size Y. Well, size Z times size Y. 2 of those. And I mistyped there because that's the size Z, which is not what we're looking for. Okay. So if it's lower than 1/9 of the circumference, let's say 1/5, actually. Let me do that. Theoretically, we could also just check, is it half of... Is it, like 1/5 of all of the creep? Which is also a possibility, so let's use that, actually. Now, worth noting, this function isn't intended for this particular purpose, because the hive creep is distinct from hive creep light, so this is going to be just like, everything turns into light until it stops being there entirely. And Per requests a Cranston dab. Yep. I don't... He's trying. He's trying. So yeah, it's just gonna, like, progressively reduce it. It's gonna find itself always being in that situation. So we need to actually get ourselves a count of actually how much hive creep is there. So we need a box room and the world. Okay, Y and Z. Could probably just borrow the code from Find All Block, honestly. That'd really be much easier. Let's see, world in dot get block state position dot get block instance of block hive creep. There. So that returns all of the creep in that area, and if that is then lower than that, then we should... No, so we shouldn't just get it like gradually everything turns into brightly lit. Although, boy, would that be a bit of an obvious sign that what you're looking at is actually the ritual room. So get all creep. It's a similar story here. Caring for this flesh vessel is hard sometimes. You're not wrong. Okay. So, main function. Switch. Get room state. Room world in. Case 0. Gotta remember the break as well. We want to basically just find a random block that is not creep light. So we want the regular hive creep, and we want to turn that into creep light. So list block positions creep equals get all creep in that room. You appreciate building block streams, chilling with good music, and also if you want to learn something about programming, here I am. So block position equals creep.get rand next int creep size. Okay, and then world in set block state at that position to vo blocks dot creep light state for policeman, I think is the right one. Actually, no, is it just? No, I don't think it's okay, I'm gonna have to quickly check. When it spreads to find out exactly how it decides what it should be. So there's spreading. Spread creep at there. Okay. Set the block state. Did it literally just set it to creep? Because that is apparently block state, and it is just the default. Okay, yeah, that should be fine then. Yeah, just set it to hive creep light then. Okay. In which case, just set that to our sigil right now. Because that's what we're actually looking for, but we don't currently have a sigil implemented. So if get creep tally. Actually, yeah, make it sigil.get block because that's actually more useful. Is lower than. Actually, no, that's if the number of sigils is less than 1/5 of all creep. That's what we're looking for. Yes. Okay. I don't even need a circumference because now I just have the thing that works properly. So if we see a ritual room, what we should find out, what we should be able to identify of it is that it's turning very bright very quickly. Well, or as bright as things get, considering that creep light isn't actually that bright. Now what is the hive creep light? There you are. The light level of that is 9/16, which means it is light level 9. Which is just high enough that mobs don't spawn inside of them. That's what it's meant for. It's meant to illuminate the changing hives so that there's enough light to see, not very much light, and just enough light that other mobs don't, like, just enough that they don't become mob farms, essentially. And if you destroy a creep light, then other creep around it will just illuminate. So it's self-managing in that regard. Did I add the ritual rooms back to the list? I don't think I did. No, I did not. Okay. Should rename that to something a bit more meaningful for other rooms, but it's fine for now. Let me see why you squish it a fox. Okay. see how we do. Now, we don't have a dismantle, so whatever rooms get turned into ritual rooms are going to stay very bright, but should be okay for right now. With a squished witch, or squitched. Okay, obviously no rooms are currently rated as being for being ritual rooms. We need to wait for them to end. We need to wait for this to reboot in about 50 seconds. This is looking nice though, I will say. Theoretically, I could literally just say it's a grass block with a pot on top, and the pot is what gets the flower. That's entirely a possibility. I'm just waiting for this to reboot. Mini scrim cam. Why mini scrim? I do like the flower crown on the foxes. That is very cute. I'm glad to see people are enjoying the new emotes. They've been working on they've been worked on very hard by uni. Another option is we can also, like, I mentioned that I wanted to have the rooms a bit more delineated so that they're not just right next to each other. Obviously that's a bit of unavoidable in a structure like this. But I suppose we could have it be, like, specific to certain rooms. So for instance, the outer edging of, say, a ritual room might be like a thin membrane that you can punch through quite easily and that the changelings just teleport through, because that's a thing they can do. But the witch is just full of knives. The witch is full of many things. The witch contains multitudes. How are we doing down here? Not seeing very much happen here. But then again, I also turned off most of the reporting, so... Nope. Let's do this the hard way. Well, the easy way, I guess. The hard way is waiting. So that is it, determining what its volume is. Isolating things that are of no use. And in a hot second we should see rooms. And it does that progressively, purely because if it did it all at once, the whole game lags. Okay, I see something there. That brown may indicate that this particular spot is a ritual room. We'll find out in a hot second. Now the rooms do try to call the nearest unoccupied changeling. They don't just go for anybody. So it's relatively efficient in that regard. They don't try to ask, like, somebody who's on the opposite end of the hive when there's somebody, like, just next door. Now that looked like they were trying to function. We can see some light turning up, but that's obviously in a hatchery. Let me check what the color is for ritual rooms. Let me see. They are 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, which is brown. So the brown colored blocks above indicates the presence of a ritual room. Which is presently just this one tiny little spit of land here. But But we're not seeing anything happen here. Let me check the code that we just made. Sticks? Yes. The river sticks. Back in a moment, everybody. Welcome back, everybody, to the final hour of the evening here on Building Blocks, and we are currently working on getting the changelings to decorate their ritual rooms, which is the areas that they will go to and then proceed to contact their patron, I guess would be the phrase. This seems like the most decent thing to call it, who will then hopefully bless them with a slightly larger house, as it were. So we are currently trying to get them to just put a whole ton more creep lights than usual in a particular thing. And this room I believe to be the only one that is currently registered as a ritual room. Yep, because it's the only brown. I'm still really not sure how this room is getting remotely added, because there's literally no blocks inside the volume that get detected there, so I don't know how it does that. But anyways, when that room is building, we should see a ton new creep lights inside of it. And there's currently 4 of them, which is not dreadfully unusual, but there's also a lot of rooms around here that are getting built. Now, once we've gotten the ritual going, what we also need to see happen... Okay, that's getting a lot brighter, isn't it? There's 3 on the floor, there's like 6 in the ceiling, along the walls and whatnot. Yeah, that's definitely working now, I think. Oof. Yeah, that's doing well. Yeah, once the ritual room's done, the only thing I think that's more or less left is to get the hatchery fixed up. Currently, changelings don't breed. That's changing, obviously. But what happens if a player does not engage in any actions that cause changelings to breed? There's the question. And for that kind of scenario, what happens is that the hatcheries maintain a singular entity, a large xenomorph queen-like entity called a broodbringer. Because obviously it's not a queen, because that would be that's the witch. The witch is the queen. And yep, that's definitely a lot. That's a lot of creep light in that one space, isn't it? We could make it an even higher percentage if we wanted to, but for right now, 20% is what we're looking for. And the Broodbringers' main thing is that they will hang out specifically inside of hatchery rooms of hives, and they will occasionally, very slowly, if there's sufficiently few changelings inside of the rooms of a hive, then they will plant an egg. If you go into a hatchery and break an egg for any reason or by any means, they will also aggro on you and they constitute a mini-boss. So, yeah. That's something to beware of. And of course, currently, no matter what condition it is, the ritual room is gonna, like, register, like, hey, could somebody come, like, give me a hand? That kind of thing. So that's a thing. I also probably need to change them so that they don't shoot. Like, most of the times when they go over to a place, they just stop at the very edge, because that's when they first detect that they are inside of an area. So it's a little obvious when they do that. I could also just have them, like, teleport to the area, which is probably also a wise idea. But that's also how we end up with people getting stuck over here. But because of the way the room code is written right now, they don't do that, because there's no ground floor to put anything on there. The only thing that could possibly build inside there is in fact a ritual room. They aggro on other mobs like the creeper if they break an egg. The creeper is gone by that point, so I don't think they'd have anybody to aggro on. But if the hive sustains damage, then the room will register that it's got a problem, and it'll tell the hive, hey, you should recalculate this region. Make sure it's actually usable, that kind of thing. But okay, I think that's working. So we have a new thing to do, and that is to actually create a sigil. Because right now we just have creep lights going up. And the hive sigils will definitely be doing that stuff, but yeah. Okay. So the second thing we need is resource gathering. We need to know where to put items for the ritual. And ideally, these ritual rooms are going to be relatively open kind of spaces, so more like a I'm trying to think of an example there. More like a storage room where you have, like, the chests are lining up on the walls and not very much in the middle. That's more the kind of space a ritual room wants to be. But We don't necessarily know if that'll be the case. Maybe it turns into an apple core. I don't know. But okay, so from there, we can have it also change up how we want it to work as well. So, for instance, there is this, which just says make it bright. You can also have something that says put a like pillar of solid creep going up the middle, that kind of thing. Which I actually will, because that sounds really cool. So, let me see. For int y equals room.min.y. Y is lower than room.max.getY. Yarn. Yes, albacore turned into a fish. Are you referencing something there, Purr? Because I don't understand what you mean. Let's see, room.min dot add 0 y 0. That's not correct, but for the moment. Heard you say albacore? Oh, apple core, right. Now I know what you've... Okay, right. I've been confused for a second there. Yeah, that's definitely wrong. Let's see what we can do. Size Y, that's the value I'm looking for. Okay. Okay, so if if state.getBlock, or actually it's one easier step. So if that's an error block, then we want to return to be state 1 still. And then we want if is error block position that return 1. Trying to think what else. Having a nice central pillar does help us, so yeah. Heard you say albacore? Huh. Must have turned to right at Albuquerque. So it goes through that. If it's an error block, then we fill it in. Okay. And then, when we perform the function, there is all of that. We could increment it. That would make it easier to actually digest. Tuna apple core? Okay, so similar thing, but we just instead of having it be that, we just want it to be actually an apple core. So world in.setBlock state at position vo blocks dot solid default state. I want to rename that because position is already used. Yeah.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where is the peck of pickled peppers that Peter Piper picked? He ate them.
Pretty sure it's picked a pack of pickled peppers, but okay. There we go. Okay. So it goes from the bottom up as it's going through that. So it places all of the sigil pieces, and then it starts placing the pillar. Okay. Let's add an ore. Block state, pillar position, dot get block. Instance of block hive creep. Let's actually have the block state here. So if state, so if it's air or creep that isn't solid, then it should replace it. Okay, so any kind of creep in the middle gets moved. What are these things oh yeah, it's just, those are fine, those are things we haven't actually done yet. Okay, and then, once we get to state 3, we check for making the block closest to the middle an actual, like, container block of some kind. Peck is an Imperial and United States customary. Oh, no wonder I've never heard of it then. Because I've only ever heard of pick a pack, not pick a peck. Reboot that so it actually understands that, because otherwise it might get partially there and then not realize. So if it finds that there isn't a full pillar in that middle, then yeah, and then we can also arrange people around that middle. Yay! And hive creep, well, solid hive creep does decay just as well as regular creep, so that's fine. But okay, so we need a new block, which is a sigil. And we also ideally need another new block, which resembles like Hive Solid or some such, that we can also use, which bonus points will allow us to add visual elements. So if it's just like Hive Ritual Center or something to that effect. We don't have time for that today, especially not with my hand in this breeze. So whoop, yep. There's a ton of crit. There's just a ton there. Probably because I didn't add a break, so it just went all the way. That is every piece of Hive Solid that it could add. And also that is the very edge corner. We actually want the middle. So let's fix that up, shall we? It is my fault for picking the middle. Rubber baby bugger bumpers? I mean, I can say it pretty fast. How fast do you need me to say rubber baby bugger bumpers? Bearing in mind, I have a stammer to begin with. Rubber baby bugger bumpers is kind of already kind of a pain for me. Oh, the buttloader's actual unit of measurement is used to measure alcohol and spirits. Neat. Okay, I can actually do this much easier. Take the minimum position and add room.sizex over 2, 0, and room.size over 2. There. So that should only ever be near the middle now. Right, okay. So yeah, we just put the one that's actually dead middle, or closest to it, as being our ritual block. Which we make a tank. We can make some kind of container, and then we just have to get it to do all the things. Can't say that tongue twister faster either. Are they alone or do they have friends in there? What do you mean? Oh, the spectral stone. Yeah, sure. Okay, we gotta dismantle. And just for a little bit of beauty, let's actually just break this block. So everything dismantles, and then we should see things just gradually fade away. Of course, they do that quite slowly, so I usually accelerate that. A lot of block breaking noise, because it doesn't usually go this fast. That's better. But yeah, so if you seal a rift, then the hive no longer has an object. So all the blocks that make up it, the creep and such, just sort of fade away over time. Self-cleaning hives, if you will. Way better than, like, when you kill a wasp queen or something. That, in fast forward, is partially why that's so lags, initially. Okay, we all clean and tidy in here? I think we are, Plunk another rift down. No lag at all that time. And now it's just getting started. Calculating everything. Doing all the stuffs. Which takes a while now because I need it to not lag the server every single time it happens. Okay, so once again it's decided that this forward section here is going to be the ritual room. So first it sets all of the light. And then we'll start to build the quote-unquote apple core. Which should happen essentially middle of that arch. Yep, there we go, that's a start. That's a piece of that is a piece of hive solid there. Yep. And is that the top of the room? Let's find out. How tall is that room in here? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that doesn't quite go to the ceiling level. Oh, but it is still going. God, should I make this look like a maypole? There's a fort. It's like, if it looks like a maypole, then, that kind of goes interestingly into Fate lore. What a very nice hat that fox has, Burra. Okay, I think that's all of that. So if it removes some creep light whilst it's going up like that, it'll go back to stage 0 and it'll actually start, like, adding more. A maypole? A maypole. Ring around, like, it's the thing that people, like, dance around, which seems... How would I do the ribbons? Probably the same way that I do the chains and such. I just draw a line. What is a maypole? A spring kind of thing, which is definitely very European, I'll say that much. But okay, so that's progress. So now we want the middle block, or the middlemost block of Hive Solid, to be turned into a specific tile entity that we're going to be using for actually keeping track of ongoing rituals. So let's go and add ourselves another thing here. So if Hive Room Behavior find all block, the room, the world, and for right now we're just going to make it a furnace. Then we'll return 3. A lot of intricate steps to this construction compared to the other ones. So let's see, if get room state room world in is greater than 0, then do all that stuff. Just so it stops requesting help and assistance and such. Okay. So, at that point, we just want to find the core base. We're gonna iterate up it, and we want to find the closest thing to the closest piece of Hive Solid to the actual room core. So block cross room core equals basically that, but including the Y as well. So if world and dot get block state core base dot add 0 y 0 dot get block equals Hive Solid. And then if closest to core equals null, or we are gonna need, let's see, equals that. You need to have these in different names because otherwise they override each other, because they technically exist in the same scope. So distance to room core. I think I can just give it entirely, well, 100%. It's lower than closest to core distance. Yep, you like that. Okay, closest to core equals below position. And then after that, world in, set block state, closest position to the core. But right now we just want a furnace. All the kids were given bells during the May fairs you've gone to, which is also interesting fairy lore. Interesting. Bells, depending upon the lore you read, either attract or expel fairies. So, yeah, interesting. There. Okay, so it finds the closest piece of Hive Solid to the actual room core to place that there. Aha! And right now it just places a furnace, which is fine because it still places a thing which has a tile entity. So theoretically we can have the we can have the garden actually, like, perform the function of harvesting flowers as well as growing them, in which case they end up inside of the hive storage, and then we can rank those as being relatively low value during the ritual, so that there is actually a way for the changeling hives to take over, essentially, without them even remotely being interacted with by a player. A fertility dance or something? I mean, most things in spring are. So it should be placing a furnace next. Should being the operative word here. Can't believe bells are sometimes just fey be gone. Yeah, occasionally. If I ever make a fey summoning ritual, I need to remember to include that. Okay, we can wait for this to just reboot. Or whatever, but we're looking for a furnace in the middle here. And placing this in the center also functionally means that all the ritual rooms can be circles. Toruses, if you will. But also, turns out this is the actual functional height of the room, not the actual literal height of the room. Come on, you should be able to place something there. Should be able to see a thing there. What's going on? Right now, that should be the room closest to being functional as well. What's going on here? There's something wonky here, that's for sure. Because we're running through effectively the same code, and we're just looking for the closest available solid block. Like, piece of hive solid. You just had a wither skull hovering above your base, like the block or the entity, the projectile. This is the same loop, functionally, here. So what's going on? You didn't know? Think it was the block? Oh, that's way less entertaining. Because the projectiles do slow down exponentially over time. So they can just end up floating in midair. It's the same thing you have. It's the same thing that happens with gas fireballs. If they enter into unloaded chunks, they freeze in position. Okay, so what's... If we don't have a closest to core value yet, then it becomes that. If we do have one, then it only becomes that if it's like shorter distance from the core. So why are we having trouble finding it? Why do you only use the one shrug arm? Oh. Because you only have the one. Oh. Okay, let's have a sys out here. Reaching to unloaded chunks to find a frozen friend. God, there's an interesting concept, actually. If unloaded chunks were actually, like, absolute zero in temperature. How did the gassed fireball get above Yokai Village? I don't rightly remember. But it happens with various kinds of fireballs. Like, pretty much all projectiles do that eventually. I think the only one that doesn't is arrows. But all gassed fireballs, blaze fireballs, and wither skulls do that. I don't think snowballs do. Snowballs and arrows share the same code, and they functionally just check to see if they're actually in the ground already, in which case, if they're not, then they continually decrease their direction vector. Do what? Freeze in place when they get unloaded, Dusty. Okay, I'm going to keep to my window here. And we'll see what exactly happens. Yeah, it was probably like during the potion making period of Ryokai, I don't know. No one had put the skull there? No one that confessed? I do love the aesthetic inside these hives. It looks gorgeous. It is complicated as all hell, but it is gorgeous. The capacity to turn any interior space into this beautiful little, like, naturey place is lovely. Arrows, can I do the hover arrow thing sometimes? Yeah, occasionally. Come on, guys. If you can place the tile, then we know for certain that we can get the ritual going. Things in Minecraft obey the laws of gravity? Unheard of. Another thing I could also do is actually replace it with... I forget what the actual name of it was. Wet hive? Stuff like that. Which that actually tries to place outside of itself. The trouble then would be that it tries to place outside of itself to random ranges. It's used to insulate, like, procedural hives. So I don't know if that would necessarily be wise. Like, that could just clog up the entire room if you wanted. Okay, we don't seem to get anything happening here. We do have some nice rooms, though. Yeah, we seem to be pretty much complete for, structure. And just in the middle of it, just off to the side here, we have this. Changing so camera shy. I am invisible. Like, they can't see me at all. It's possible we're not always getting... It's possible that we're not getting our thing here. Oh, I wonder if it's the arrangement of the and statement over here. So if you didn't know, these things get called up in sequence. So if you have an and, if the first thing fails, the whole thing is false. Only if the first thing is true does it actually, like, start to go through. It might be that. That might be what's happening. I was expecting to tab back there and they'd have put a first there and I just wouldn't have seen a single thing. Okay, so if it's an air block, return 2. Otherwise, if it is a block of hive creep and it's not solid, then we do that. All other things we close. We don't want to replace stairs, we don't want to replace solid rock or anything like that. The changeling hives at the very least are meant to be very low actual like damage. They'll still cause havoc, no doubt, but they won't, like, your base no longer exists once you get rid of the rift, that kind of thing. Like, if you get rid of the rift, you should get back the terrain that the hive was built over. So, yeah, so we need to figure this out. I'm trying to think, how do we do that? performing function, I guess. Okay. Now it'll tell me if it's stuck inside of one of these somehow. I don't see anywhere it should be. But it feels like they're stuck in one of these states. The changelings just improved your base view. Yeah, they made it so much more aesthetic, so much more decorative. There's flowers over there. There's a breeding pool for strange eldritch entities from another dimension over there. You know, it's lovely. Lots of storage all along the walls. Just kept right out the way. We've added a maypole. Okay, give you guys the more aesthetic view of this. Function 2. Okay. Interesting. It's continually trying to perform function 2, which means it's stuck in that state. The question being, why? Why are you still stuck in that state? Why can't you place any higher? If it's air or it's not hive solid and it's instance of hive creep. No, that should be fine. If it's detecting that, it should be getting that, is the weirdness. But it is definitely stuck in state 2. So it's never getting to the state where it places that furnace. Okay. Just the same thing here, I guess. Maybe. Let's find out. It can genuinely just be that simple sometimes. Just curious, did I see the hick clip? Yes, I did. Very cute. So, 4, that to that. Yep. Basically, it is the exact same thing, we're just trying to place the block there instead of doing anything else. That should be able to go there now. So if it succeeds at that at any level, it returns 2, in which case we go to the point where it actually performs that action. If it doesn't, then we continue through anyways. And then we get to this point, which should be find all the blocks. Find all the furnaces in that area. And then for dismantle, we can theoretically just go through and get rid of the furnaces and stuff. What? If the price for a pretty aesthetic hive is having eldritch creatures as roommates, I'll take it. You and many others, it seems. The rest is just blanketing your base, keeping it nice and cozy. Yeah, all neatly insulated. All nicely lit. In fact, the creep theoretically is better lit than most bases because it automatically lights up in areas that are dark in an aesthetic way. Imagine that. Huh? Where was the cute parts? I didn't... Okay, we're in a different place now. Okay, yep. I hacked up the code slightly. Probably... Yeah, room min, not core base. Oh, I wonder if that's what's happening down here as well. Yes, yes it is. Okay, right, that solves that mystery. So we were placing it in the middle, but it was checking in the corner. That's why it was doing that. Okay. Now it should be fine. Oh, the clip? I mean, it was very short and abrupt. A little hard to be certain, exactly. Okay, so if we see a furnace appear, then we know that this is working properly. At that point, we can replace the furnace with whatever block we actually want, namely a ritual core of some description, and then we can have that perform all the fun little visuals, as well as organizing the changelings to actually do stuff, and being a container, so that we know what items to use. So let us just clear that up. Yeah, it lags when that happens, but of course it lags when that happens. Do we see a furnace just hanging in the air here? No, we don't. Good. That could have been awkward. Oh yeah, if you're wondering what's up with the hoppers and the dispenser here, or the dropper, this was an early test of storage. So theoretically, if you know exactly where they're going to place the storage room, you can preemptively put hoppers there and you'll just be able to drain items out of their storage, which is one way you can prevent a changeling hive from growing without actually destroying it. So if you just want to keep it there for aesthetics, you can. As long as you get rid of those items in a way that they can't retrieve them, it'll be fine. The item duplicator, yeah, back when? Back when it was bugged. Okay, any browns? Yes, same place. Which is good, give or take. That's not actually performing quality control there, but it is actually doing stuff. So first thing that happens is a whole ton of creep lights get placed. Until there is at least 1/5 of the creep in that room is creep light. And then we should start to see the quote-unquote maple or apple core rise. Apple core should be more a thing, so maybe maple is better. So storage rooms can be relatively small. So hatcheries need to be as large as possible. Gardens need an even size, I think. And then ritual rooms definitely need a minimum size, I think. I didn't do a count on how many pieces of hive light were there. Oh, there goes the pole. Okay. So it rises. This is interesting because this is the only room that develops actual physical structure. All the others are just creating, like, holder elements, essentially. Up you go. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. And since it's the only one that's not the only room that's not dismantling it, we actually get to keep its progress. So if you enter into a changeling hive and you find a room with a pillar up the dead middle of it, then you know you found the ritual room. But it'll also be relatively obvious where the ritual room is, because there'll also be eldritch signals and such around it. Oh, I wonder if I could tie the sigils that appear to the actual, like, category symbol, like the spell symbols. There's an idea. And I could draw them from a specific spell as well. Like maybe they're the sigils from the gate spell, for instance. Anybody else, please? I have 5 minutes on my clock here. Let me check my... Yeah, we're still on function 2 for the moment. But now we know why it wasn't working the first time. Yeah, actual dismantling should probably only happen if a given block is found to be in a different room, or a different type of room. Or, of course, if the hive, if the rift gets actually sealed. That's another possibility. Hiveless changelings are a thing that can happen, for sure. Where are you guys? You're over here. I think that's done. So yeah, you've been... You might be wondering, you might be getting called over. I wonder where the other ones wandered off to. Oh yeah, that happens occasionally. Because their teleporting works, but it's not perfect. Whoop. You coming in? There you are. Hello! Well, we're nearly done, I think. Come on. Show me a furnace. Show me a furnace. Come on. Apparently we're just still going up. You've got to be pretty close to function 3 though. I think it's encountering a problem here, because it's still on function 2. And I feel like it probably shouldn't be, because it's not going any higher, which would indicate that it's done. So what's going on? Like if it was... Like this is creep, it can replace creep. So what's preventing it there? Heck. So it's still identifying itself as being in type 2 here, or stage 2. If it's an air block, or a block of hive creep, then return 2. Okay. That's the same thing that we're using here to, like, set that. This should be self-defeating eventually. It should remove its own conditions. Maple ribbons got tangled a little bit, maybe, yeah. Room core is calculated the same way. Well, that's the same. This is literally the same loop. We cloned it to get to this. So what's going wrong? Why are we getting stuck here? If it's an air block or a non-solid hive creep block. Okay, we're finding hive creep at the top there, so what's going wrong? There genuinely shouldn't be any way that these can just continue endlessly, because they're designed to fail their own conditions. And I know the stream should have ended by now, but I want to see this done. Extra lungo time? Yeah, a little bit. Since it places hive solid, that should skip over hive solid later on. For right now, let's just actually tell it to place it just all in one. There's literally the exact code. So if it finds anything, it's because it hasn't overridden it yet. That's the only explanation. Because if it's a solid block, if it's hive solid, then it can't be an air block, and it doesn't pass this check here. State.getBlock does not equal solid. Which means this should complete, and we should get down to here, which checks for the furnace. Later on, I can organize this a bit more so it actually, like, for instance, tries to place the sigil blocks on the floor closest to the core, that kind of thing. And then as it builds the maple up, they kind of come around and such, but hey. This shouldn't be as complicated as it is being right now. It's still performing function 2. Which doesn't make sense. How are we... Let me ask it exactly which block. Like that, it should be done now. So let's try and find out exactly which block it is that's messing it up. Because maybe it's finding one that is somehow being missed by the actual thing looking for it. I don't know. Again, shouldn't happen because they're the exact same thing. Oh, wait, no. I see it. I see the flaw. Okay, room core is using the actual center of the room, not the one for the floor. That's why. So it's starting in the middle, going up the height of the room, and finding things presumably above the ceiling that it should be placing for. That's what's happening. Can't wait to have hivelings in your single. Yeah, hivelings? Is that what you're calling them now? Dusty, shush. Perfectly reasonable mistake to make. Particularly considering that there's no, like, readout here showing it. Okay, that should now be all well and good. Changelings, not hivelings? Yeah. I mean, I guess you could call them hivelings if you wanted. Nothing stopping you. Okay, so next week we can work on the actual, like, block controlling the ritual. And I will hopefully have had the time in the week to set up the sigil block. Yes! We have a furnace, everybody! And if I tear down this pillar, then they should try and put it back. Yep. So they'll build it all the way up, and then they'll put the creep solid back. Should probably check to make, like, with the maple, I should probably check to, well, actually, no, it doesn't count as a solid block, so it shouldn't, it's on an air block, so it shouldn't get replaced. Okay, grand. So if we get rid of the furnace, it'll replace it with hive solid first, and then it'll put the furnace over top. Yeah, perfect. Hurrah. Hope everybody's enjoyed. We made some interesting stuffs happen today. We added gardens, which we don't seem to have in this particular hive, but it will. And now we've added the ritual room, or we're working on the ritual room. I'll add a bit more work on the gardens for next time. Yeah. Hopefully that worked out nicely for you. That's, oh, I guess it does invalidate itself by virtue of that. It's fine, I can tweak that later. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed, and let's see, my next stream is tomorrow at 7, we have more Dungeons & Dragon hats, on Thursday at 9 we have some Monster Hunter World, on Friday at 9 we have some more Vampire, closing in on the end of that game, and we should have some more Dungeons & Dragons at 7 on Saturday, followed by some of the Carousel with some random games at 9, and we'll be back for more of this on Tuesday at 9 with building blocks. Meanwhile, I do make videos at youtube.com/comic, and everything I do is powered by people like you at Patreon at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time.